I'm Foxxeel and welcome to another Age of Wonders Planet 4 guide video, but this guide is going to be on the Shakarn specifically, not on the Shakarn generally as a race and not on them with a combination with the secret tech. With that being said, the main thing about this video I want to get to is the synergy of how I play the Shakarn, not an in-depth guide about every aspect of the Shakarn, more so what I do and why I do it. With that being said, majority of the playstyle that this is based off is not as non-multiplayer, so versing AI, which pretty much means that I don't really use infiltration as much due to the fact that AI, or covert operations, sorry, due to the fact that AI always has really high operational defense, and I kind of base some of my decisions based off this. That being said, I will kind of mention aspects where they would be more beneficial in multiplayer or against human opponents, but we'll kind of get through that as we go. So I'm going to do a general overview about everything to do with the Shakarn and then try and focus a lot more on how I use the Shakarn. So I'm not going to be talking about anything to do with secret tech, so we're going to ignore the fact that this is void tech, and I'm not going to be mentioning it at all. So we'll start off with the background of the Shakarn. So the Shakarn are the newest race to Age of Wonders Planet 4 as of the Invasions update, which came in, was it, I think, April? No? May? No? June? 2020 sometime, middle of 2020, we'll say that. So the Shakarn are an amphibious race that they start off with aquatic deployment, which is this tech down here, which pretty much lets them move faster over water and lets them colonize on sea. Wrong button. Back to background. You also have your all racial tech is 10% faster. So racial tech, for anyone that doesn't know, is the tech tree at the very top. The one that has the names of the different races. They're all 10% faster. The easiest way to check this, hover your mouse that says the cost is 100, 10% cheaper is 90, go all the way down here. This cost is 2,200, 10% cheaper is 1980. So that's that. You also have the infiltration operations, long-term bonus. It lets you steal other races' tech trees. Again, I don't really use infiltration operations too much, but it would be better versus multiplayer. This is still a pretty good doctrine because you get to access. It's a lot easier to gain access to the other tech trees instead of trying to take them over or try and ally with them or take one of their colonies. Back to background, we have the sound weapons group. Excuse me, which is a weapons group unique to the Shakarn. So the sound weapons group, is important to note, it does damage through the kinetic damage channel. So it's not its own damage channel, and anything that you can do to reduce or change kinetic, the kinetic damage channel will make you do more damage with the sound weapons. It's important to notice kinetic damage channel is represented by this image here. Right, because this image appears in a lot of places where they don't actually use the word kinetic damage channel, but if you ever see this image, it means kinetic damage. The yellow, like, star, sun looking thing. Omni weapons combine sound and laser technology. So your Omni weapons, this is your Sonic, which is your sound weaponry. This is your laser weaponry. A lot of your units have Omni weapons. So as an example, let's just pick the tier 1 infantry unit, which is this one down here. So this does both kinetic and thermal damage, or laser damage, I should say. Which means that you do damage through both channels. But again, remember, your sound weapons only applies through the kinetic damage. It's important because this actually factors into how do I play them, but I'll get into that a bit later on. Down here, Omni weapons, so use holograms to infiltrate. You have some unique units that let you infiltrate and confuse the enemies, which are pretty awesome. I'll get into that. Use of broadcast and propaganda, again, something else that I'm pretty sure that's unique to Shakarn. I'm not too sure, actually, don't quote me on that. And finally, amphibious units, which let you travel faster, let you move faster over water. And you have I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, epimorphic regeneration. I just contradicted myself. What this means is if you take damage from an enemy operation, the next turn you will regenerate 6 HP at the start of a turn. So if you come into a battle and you've taken damage, you won't actually regenerate health until, if you come into a battle and you're, say, half health, you won't regenerate damage until you won't regenerate health until you've taken damage on that specific battle. That was a tongue twister. I hope that made sense. I'm just gonna keep going. If it didn't make sense, let me know in the comments and I'll explain. Void tech, we're gonna ignore that. The other thing you need to mention with the Shakarn is that they have this inherent weakness. So this is their regeneration. This is their weakness. So xenodefibrillation, debilitation. So this is -2 resistance against status effects. So pretty much what that means is you're more likely to have status effects applied to you. I'm going to make a specific video explaining the coding or the equations around status effects and why everything says strength chance and why that's really important. So 2 resistance is more or less 2 strength chance, but not exactly, but that's a separate video. The easiest thing to understand is you're more likely to have status effects being applied to you. Now that we've gone through the background, we're going to go through the society. We're only be focusing on the Shakarn stuff, which is tier 1 doctrine, tier 5, and tier 9. Right, so we'll start at the start. So we have planetfall procedures. So first of all, you have your dwelling imitation, intimidation. I need to learn how to read. So what this means is you get a 10% discount when dealing with NPC factions, and the faction war quest rewards trigger at 6 units defeated instead of 10. Personally, I never really do faction wars, so I don't really know how that works too much. And also, I don't really do influence builds. This is a really good doctrine if you do influence builds, if you do focus a lot on NPCs. I would definitely use this. I don't use that personally, that's just my playstyle. The doctrine I do use as my first doctrine slot always is Homeworld Reminiscence. So what this means is that your colonies that have, so the Shakarn homeworld is 90% organic, oceanic, man, eyes, please work. So colonies gain +12 food and +4 happiness if the coastal or river feature is in their domain. So pretty much, if I go to my capital, which is here, if you're next to the coast, or if you're near the sea, or if you have a river, and you activate that doctrine, you will get +12 happiness and +4 morale. So +12 food, and +4 happiness into your colonies. Now, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm almost positive that your capital or your home world for every map that you start on will always have access to either the sea or rivers. So if you're on a map that doesn't have any ocean, it will always have rivers. I've never ever seen the Shakarn not have this. Again, don't quote me, this is just my understanding. So that way, even though this doctrine says, well, it's only with colonies that have river or coastal, you can always be guaranteed that your home world will get this. Next we have your propagation towers. It's a unique building to the Shakarn, which use your broadcast, which I'll get into later, operational broadcast, but your colony gains +4 happiness. It's pretty nice to have +4 happiness. It doesn't make too much of a big difference. It does to me because I use happiness quite a lot, and I try and get happiness events every 2 turns, but that's separate. That's more into actually watching a playthrough. We'll skip down to manipulation campaigns. Scorched Earth, something I think should be nerfed, or maybe it shouldn't, I don't really know. It's too powerful for my opinion. So what this does is if you attack a colony and you raise it, if you read down the bottom paragraph, you get 75% bonus increased resources, 75% more resources, and you do it 1 turn less. So normally when you raise something, you'll take 3 turns to do it. This lets you raise something in 2 turns, and 75% is almost 100%. So you almost get double the amount of energy and cosmite. I think that's too much personally, so if I ever do attack a colony and I do want to raise them, I always try and have Scorched Earth. It's an amazing doctrine, but that just depends if you want to actually raise stuff or absorb. Active agent network, so this is again, while using infiltration, so if you use your covert operations, you'll get more operational offense, I think that is, operational, I'm not sure what that +4 symbol is, I can't quite remember, +2 influence and +15 research per turn on each active infiltration on a unique player. So again, this would be a lot more useful in multiplayer against human players due to the fact that they won't have as high of operational defense as the AI, which extreme AI always has really high operational defense. So I don't personally use it too much, but definitely not a weak ability or doctrine by any means. It also depends on playstyle. We'll go down to the end where we have your expert council. So we have heightened, I pronounce this Domok, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, and we have heightened Domok regime, and we have holocrafted Zardes channels. So pretty much with the Shakarn, they have, I should have mentioned this up here, this image here is kind of like these two, there's a duality in how they play. They have either the Domok playstyle or the Zardes, and that kind of, another way to reword that is you have the military brute force, just like straight up damage, and then, which is the Domok, and then you have the Zardes, which is more of your infiltrate and kind of confuse the enemy. It's more subterfuge or stealth, or maybe like rogue, I'm not really sure what word to put it, but you have those 2 different types of playstyles. So I always prefer the Domok, purely because like you get 10% bonus damage, 10% accuracy, and you reduce your upkeep by 20%, which is generally all around a pretty safe and reliable mod. Doctrine, I should say. Again, Expert Council. Covert operations are 40% less to prime, and you gain 3 operational defense, and your infiltrators are stronger. Again, this would be a lot better versus human players. Anything to do with covert operations always works better against human players, not against extreme AI. So again, not weak, it just doesn't really work. If I do more multiplayer, I might lean more into the Zardes playstyle, the Zardes channels. So that's the society done. I'm going to try and go through the military as quickly as possible, just because there is quite a lot. And I want to focus on the synergy, not so much explaining each thing by like just reading it out to you, because if you use this and use this ability, you can kind of read everything and generally get it. But I've learned by using these texts in a certain way, or these mods, how they synergize really well. So I'll go through this tier by tier. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I'll go down by this way. Again, I'm not going to be talking about void tech, so ignore the void tech at the bottom. Before I do start, I do want to say that I don't really use laser at all. I have these 3 techs unlocked. The main reason is that I want the operations. I didn't use any of the mods on any of these units. That's not saying laser is weak, but my issue with laser is that laser doesn't work on everything. So for example, like before I started reading into this, I'm going to be really general. I'm going to skip through the laser really quickly. I'm going to explain why. Laser only works with Omni, what's that word called? So say if you go here, Omni weapons do kinetic and laser damage. So for example, I can put a laser mod on this unit, but if you have a unit that doesn't do Omni, that only does kinetic damage, you can't actually put, that's a void tech unit, sorry. This unit over here, it has Omni weapons, so it means you can apply laser mods. Your tanks, however, do not have Omni weapons, and your tacticians do not have Omni weapons. They only have kinetic, which means that also your propagators do not have Omni weapons. So in terms of scaling, if you go into the laser tech tree, you don't actually get to put very powerful mods on your tanks. That's a big issue, because the only time you get powerful AoE damage that's not the tank is the tier 4 unit, which is still, it's a pretty good unit, but that's really expensive. So I don't want to go down the Omni weapons tree, because it would limit me to only using I have to focus on my firebrand, and I have to focus on my tier 1 and tier 2. So if we go over to Shakarn, actually no, if we just go over to your base, sorry, excuse this. So if I went into the lasers, I could only be using them on my tier 1 units or my tier 2 infantry. And while that isn't weak in terms of scaling, I don't like how that doesn't scale into the late game. Whereas if you go into your sonic weapons can be applied to every unit that you have. Whether they only do kinetic damage or whether they do Omni damage, your sonic applies to everything. So universally, it's much more effective. So that's why I'm going to be generally skipping through the laser. But again, I will be explaining each mod generally. So let's get into it. Discerning systems, this is your unit detection mod, tier 1. This is the thing you should be starting with. It's the most important at the early game, I think, purely because you also get the operation. So we'll start with portable scanners. So portable scanners, it gives you detection, so it lets you see invisible units, +2 sensor English, +2 sensor range. Jeez, I don't know why that's difficult for me to say. Which means you see more, so when you're trying to explore, +2 sensor range helps. And also sees infiltrated units, sorry, which is what detection is. And you get 10 strength chance and 6 for repeating to apply analyze, which reduces their resistances by 2 for 2 turns. So reducing your resistances by 2 looks something a little like, where is it? A little like this. So xeno defibrillation, debilitation, English. It means that the Shakarn units all have their resistances reduced by 2. I'm going to slow it down. But the Analyze mod does the exact same thing as everyone else. So it's good because it means every other status effect you have is more likely to apply. So it's just a general nice mod to have. This mod is also probably one of your most important operations, as it removes negative status effects and heals for 8, and it can jump up to 3 other units within 2 hexes. So you can kind of group your units close together, heal them. The 8 heal isn't that great. You more want to get rid of status effects. Remember, Shakarn's weakness is status effects, so the very first mod you can get to actually get rid of those is amazing. and it only costs two. It only costs 2 tactical operations to use, so it's relatively cheap. Next mod, we're going to go to deafening frequencies, 12 strength chance, and 8 for repeating to apply disorientated, which is 30% chance to fumble for 2 turns. This is an offensive mod, so it gives 10% damage. I kind of skipped back, but this mod is a defensive mod, so it gives +1 shield. It's important that you have a mix of offensive and defensive, depending on what units you have. We're going on to laser, 10 strength chance to do immolation. Immolation does 10 damage and 30% easier to hit. I'm not going to go into which mod I choose and why. That'll be at the end when I talk about the units and which mods I'm using. But all around, I prefer these 2 mods over this one. Propaganda propagation. Disinformation campaign. I don't really use this too much, again, because I'm resting AI, but it influences your relationship to other races by 300 for 15 turns. Pretty good. This one I do use all the time, motivating broadcasts. So a colony with a propaganda tower gains +15 production, which is the same as the factory, the base factory that you can build at the start. I forgot what it's called, the production factory, and also you get 200 morale for having a battle within that colony. All friendly propagators cause this effect in battle, so you can use propagators. While this is active, colonies lose 5 energy, and the upkeep of propagators is increased by 25%. So that's a lot of information, and this is unique to Shakarn. So propagators are these units here. Normally their upkeep is 8. If you have this mod active and you have one of these, their upkeep moves to 10, which is, yeah, it's not really that great. I don't really use propagators personally. They're an okay unit, I just don't really like them. I more use this mod to get the +15 production, because I always try and get my production as high as possible, and 15 production for 5 energy is a really cost efficient thing to do. Focused Sonolysis module, melts armor, pretty much the same as the tier 1 bio mod. So again, it's an offensive mod, 10% damage. Actually, I skipped through these, sorry. Let me just go back. High frequency projection, it's a 1 hex radius, high impact, chance to disorientate. Pretty good mod. It pretty much does what deafening does, but to an AoE effect. It's offensive. You have a defensive operation, offensive operation. This is your single target damage, which is awesome if you just want to get rid of one target. If it's a hero, if it's a sniper, whatever it is, you know, massive impact, whereas this only has high impact. So this can actually get through stagger resistance, this can't. Going over here, we have the 2 hex radius, dealing 8 damage and destroying shield. Again, this is more beneficial because shield stops range attacks. If you have a lot of range units, use this in like wherever it is that they are, do more damage with your range weapons. This one is a laser beam that does 10 damage on 1 hex radius, chance to do blind. From memory, blind reduces accuracy by 40%. Yeah, 40% reduction in accuracy. So if you have, say, discerning, which does 30% chance to fumble, 40% chance less accuracy, they're not going to hit anything, likely. So all around pretty good mod. The stagger mod is good if you're versing someone who has a lot of stagger resistance, especially multiplayer. AI doesn't really focus on stagger resistance too much, so I do definitely see me using this if I had to as a countermeasure, but generally I wouldn't. Propagator, it's a unique mod to the Shakarn. It's a support unit more or less. It has some damage, but it has Hollow Mend, which can only be used once per battle, heals for 15 and removes status effects. Also gains evasion, pretty good, not amazing. It has the passive effects of if you have like these mods activated. I don't really use it. You also unlock the vehicle to make your heroes fly. Personally, I would only use this vehicle if I had a non-Shakarn hero and I wanted to move it across the sea. I don't really use that vehicle too much, and I don't really put my Shakarn heroes into vehicles, just a preference. Cast, I'm never going to read that. Caste? Which that's you know what? Forget whatever that says. We have the Impairing Grenades. This is the most important tier 1 mod for the Shakarn. I'll get into Synergy why, but it's a grenade that lets you impair. When you impair a target, you stop their mods, disable their mods. It disables their mods for 1 turn, so it's pretty good. If they have stagger resistance, guess what? You don't have stagger resistance because you're impaired. This mod is probably your most important mod for your melee heroes. Xeno Defense. So this unit gains +3 damage resistance to the last damage type it received and +1 shield. I skipped through that. That's a defensive mod, +1 shield. +1 armor, sorry, +1 shield. And kind of this is a defensive mod, +1 shield. Basically, you want to give armor to units that are going to hit with melee, and you want to give shield to units that are going to hit by ranged. So, you know, this mod, I always put it on my melee units, so that would be if like Void Tech, for example, shouldn't be talking about, that would be this unit, or anything that is going to be receiving a lot of damage. It might not necessarily be a melee unit, but anything that will be standing up in the front that I don't want to die. If you don't have many melee units, any range units that are important, or any units that you want to soak damage, put this on them. But not so much for your tier 1 units. Next up we have Holotech applications. So this lets you apply skitter, makes you harder to hit the more you move, +1 shield and water camouflage. Water camouflage is better versus multiplayer, but then multiplayer could have detection, so not the greatest mod in my personal opinion. You could try and stack skitter and evasion. I used to try that, but I found much better things to do instead of that. This mod over here, Hollow Illusion, I don't really use this mod, to be honest. I think it's too expensive personally, but what it does is it has a 3 hex range, which is quite high, 10% evasion, +1 shield for 1 turn, and they have an 8 strength chance to be disorientated. So it's not bad, but I just never really use it. You have this mod over here, which is a buff to your infiltrators. So infiltrators is a unique Shakarn unit. I'll go into the units after this, but it pretty much just means that they get +1 shield, 10% damage, and then now they can hollow shift into mechanical units. All around pretty decent. I do end up always unlocking this anyway, just because I have infiltrators and I want to get to the end, but this is not really my priority. I always prioritize Sonic as my highest priority in terms of military. This is secondary. So you have your sound augmentation. This is the mods, these two are the mods you want to put on your Deadeyes, which is your tier 2 units and your heroes. Just as a general overview. So what this does is it supplies resonance, which reduces their kinetic resistance by 2. Remember, sonic damage is applied through kinetic, which means every unit that you have does all their damage through kinetic. Even units that have, no, Omni units do both. But see, all these units, kinetic, you do kinetic, your kinetic only, like everything. So keep that in mind. So that's really good, just makes you do more damage. And it does a 20% bonus damage because it's an offensive mod. You have sound, you have your cativation, whatever that says, applies reverb. This is one of my go-to mods where I focus everything on reverb. Anytime you can reverb someone, you reverb someone. I should have just read it off, I should have set it back there. Where is it? So add 3 stacks of reverb. This unit and all adjacent units friendly to this unit take 15 damage, kinetic damage. What this means is that it doesn't apply damage to you, it only applies damage to enemy units, right? Units that are friendly to that enemy unit. So you just stack it up on someone and they do 15% kinetic damage. But again, this is kinetic damage, so it's a really good synergy with this over here because it reduces their kinetic resistance, which means they're more likely to take more kinetic damage. Now, the reason why you want to put this on almost everything you can, we'll get into it down here, but yeah, I'll get into it next. It's really close, but just keep in mind reverb is really important because it stacks, and when you stack it, it activates an AoE effect of 1 hex range, which is adjacent. Your laser mod, this is shield overheat, reduces shield, 12 strength chance to apply chard. What chard does is it reduces their thermal kinetic damage. So how this over here reduces their resistance to kinetic damage, their kinetic resistance, sorry. This reduces their thermal resistance. Again, not every unit does thermal damage. So this unit over here, Omniclaw does 8 kinetic damage and 8 thermal damage. But this unit over here does no thermal damage. This unit over here does no thermal damage. I'm saying thermal damage by if you hover your mouse over a unit and you see all the abilities, you can tell by the image. So 8 with that circle, that star thing, that's kinetic. That flame is thermal. So the reason I don't use chart is because not everything does thermal damage, so I don't really care about reducing thermal damage. I more wanted it for the laser ablation, which is a massive impact, 25 damage, and it bypasses and removing 3 shield. This is just to kind of stagger powerful units or hero units. That's the only reason I really wanted this. I didn't really care about searing too much. Firebrand, this is your first elite unit. This is your melee unit. This is the only elite melee unit that has a ranged attack, I think. So Omniclaw is just your basic repeating attack. Omni Shot. It has a 5 hex range, and it has no cooldown, so you can always just shoot if you don't run up to them, which is fine. If they have flying units, this is where that becomes really important. And that's again Omni damage, so it's through both damage channels. Staggering Force. Excuse me. Staggering Force lets you ram a target with a shield. Doesn't really show a shield, I don't think. But what this does is, if you read down to the bottom where it says charge, or sorry, I'll start from the top. So you have a 12. Concussion is to stun a unit pretty much. You kind of take them out for one turn. 12 strength chance is the highest. If it doesn't, then it staggers them instead. If resisted, causes massive impact. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, it'll stagger them. I think that means you can stagger them twice. I'm not really too sure what that means. If resisted, causes massive impact instead, but it already has massive impact. So I don't really know what that means. And then we have charge. So 20% damage if this unit moves at least 3 hexes. I don't really care for charge because I put only defensive mods. The reason why is I throw this unit right into the middle of the enemy and I want them to hit it. If they hit it, they're not going to kill it. They're wasting time. Any damage on this unit is damage that's not done on someone else. But again, it's more for disruption. But that's playstyle. And defensive mode, resistance. Plus bonus armor and harder to hit, can't be staggered. Stagger resistance. You also get this mod here. It's a weapon for your heroes. I don't use this. You can if you want, but I don't think it's worth it. There's much better things that are better synergy, but it's alright. Over here, orbital recall systems lets you teleport. Really important to point out, this is a defensive mod, gives 1 shield, but most importantly, active ability leaves 1 point. What that means is after you use this action point, you have another action point left. So this can synergize really well with certain other things, but keep that in mind. Your orbital abduction, it lets you steal units, kill them. You gain 15. I don't want to use this, so I'm kind of going to skip it. Tactician deployment. Probably one of the most important techs to unlock for the Shakarn, in my personal opinion. The tactician is amazing, but more so for this. I put this on every single hero with no exception as my highest priority. If you only have 16 Cosmite, put this on your hero. It's amazing. The reason why it's amazing is this mod turns every hero into a tactician, lets them use the 2 abilities that the tactician has access to, and with those abilities I'll explain what that is, and you're going to see why they're important to me, I think. So 1 ability, press the advantage. It gives all your units their action points back with a 1 turn cooldown. Amazing if you have an elite unit you can focus this on, or a powerful unit that you can focus this on, but the other thing you have is your defensive mod, which is your 25 heal for 25. It pulls the unit back to this adjacent hex and it removes status effects. So if you are kind of new to the game, or you're new to the the invasions patch, if you've ever used this mod here, phase manipulator, when it does evacuate, you heal a unit and you teleport it to right next to you. The tactician does the same thing as the phase manipulator, except the phase manipulator has a range of 7 and it gives shield. The tactician has a range of 5 and it removes status effects. So again, Shakarn's weakness is status effects, so a heal that removes status effects is always amazing. And the one of us all along, heroes can unlock this, but it's not really as strong as I used to think it was. Target enemy tier 1 and tier 2 infantry reveals that pretty much after turn 3 you get to summon a unit next to an enemy tier 1 or tier 2 unit, and that unit kind of is a melee unit that has a ranged attack. It's pretty good, it's pretty strong. It is useful, but I'd kind of prefer these two. Press the advantage is really amazing when you synergize it. It's broken, I would say. Cold War measures, I don't use this at all. Again, it's covert operations. I don't really lean towards this, purely because I don't play multiplayer. This is probably one of your most important other defensive mods, reverbing shields. So this unit gains, so if we we remember that circle there is your kinetic damage. That arrow pointing up, that means resistance. So what this does is you gain 3 resistance to kinetic damage. It is important for some cases. Not everyone does kinetic damage, so it's not always the most important. But it is good to have that nice little passive buff there. In addition, this unit has a 12 strength chance to apply reverb. Again, reverb is if you apply 3 stacks, they deal damage to the adjacent units. The other thing is that if this fails to apply reverb, you will apply resonance. Why does that sound familiar? Back here. So this mod applies resonance, this mod applies reverb. Your defensive mod applies reverb or resonance, so you're going to get either of them. But this becomes really important because if you can apply reverb, that's a reverb stack that someone can get, you can proc reverb earlier. Or if you apply resonance, that means they're going to take more damage from kinetic. Guess who does damage? Guess who does kinetic damage? Every single unit in the Shakarn army. So again, if you have this unit here as an example, and you put this mod on them, because again, and this mod can be only applied to units that have the sonic ability, which is every single unit in the Shakarn army. So you can put that on anything. But say for example you put it on this. If they hit this, they're not going to kill it. They're going to get reverb or they're going to get resonance, and then you can reapply reverb or take advantage or reapply resonance, or do more damage based off resonance with your offensive heroes. So this is an amazing mod. +2 shield as well. Get it, pretty much. If you can afford it, get it. It's awesome. What do you have? Rapid. Okay, so this is, I don't really use this mod too much, but what this does, it attempts to apply reverb 4 times to all unit within a hex. So again, if it fails, it applies resonance. So what's the synergy here? Reverb, resonance, and every unit can apply reverb or resonance offensively, or apply it defensively, or apply it through an operations. And again, reverb, if you stack it, you're gonna proc it. And so ideally, if you have, say every unit has this mod, every time they get hit, they get reverb, and every time you hit them, potentially you give them reverb, or you give them this. And because you're reducing their kinetic damage, reverb's going to do more damage, everyone else is going to do more damage, and it's just like this stupidly awesome synergy that just does too much. Probably, I'm not going to say it should be nerfed, but I think it's too strong. Maybe I'm just biased because I've just done it. Anyways, your refractor, your tanks, this is your main AoE damage, unless you get the final tier 4 unit. What this does, it's pretty awesome. They have ebb and flow. So if anyone really knows, ebb and flow is about the waves, about going like to and from. Forget I said to and from, I don't really know what that is, but what it does is sonic ebb is a repeating attack that gives, if you hit a unit, you get a stack of ebb. I don't know if it means that you just have to use the attack. I think if you miss, you don't get a stack of ebb. I'm not really too sure, but pretty much you get a stack of ebb for attacking. What ebb does, I wish I would actually just tell you. It doesn't tell you. Ebb, so okay, here, so flow abilities gain 10% damage and a radius increase of 1 hex, caps at 2. So you gain, so what that means is, over here, your sonic flow. What sonic flow does is it procs your ebb. So basically what I mean, sonic flow by itself has a range of 2 to 9 and it only hits 1 hex. If you have 1 stack of ebb, that hex is increased to a 1 hex radius and gains 10% damage. So I can't move my mouse, but if you see the dot points, the 4th green dot point, ebb and flow. Each ebb consumed increases damage by 10% and hex radius by 1. Ignores line of sight penalties, so it can just shoot through anything. This also destroys barriers. So just to quickly explain, sonic flow, if you hit this target here with no stacks of ebb, it's only going to hit this target. If you have 1 stack of ebb, it'll hit this target and 1 hex range, just everything around it here. Right, if you hit this target and you have 2 stacks of ebb, hit this target, 2 stacks, 2 hex range will hit everything in this range. So if you actually count, you have 1 hex here plus 8. So if you have 1 stack of ebb, you'll hit 9 hexes. The hex there and 8 surrounding it. If you have 2 stacks of ebb, you'll hit the hex here and 8 around here and another, wait, that's not 8, that's more than 8. You hit everything in this direction. I think it's like 20 hexes. I don't know how much it is. Either way, it's a big AoE attack that does damage in a circle. The reason why I point that out is because your next AoE attack does damage in a line. So you're pretty much, you can hit them in a circle, you can hit them in a line, it's up to you. But what you really want to do is you want to stack ebb and then use flow. And the way you stack ebb, every time you hit an attack, you get a stack of ebb. Wouldn't it be awesome if you had an ability that could give you more action points? Or if you had a hero that could give you more action points and that could let you do all that ebb and flow stack in 1 turn. And wouldn't it be also awesome if your ability to give more action points had a 1 turn cooldown, which would also kind of fit nicely with the fact that this flow has a 1 turn cooldown. So you can do this every 2nd turn if you just have 2 tacticians, which is stupid. As a hint, it's way too much damage, but you know, it is what it is. And wouldn't it also be awesome if every mod that you used could be given to the tank, because it does kinetic damage. So again, if you went into laser and you got to the point where you would start using your tank and you don't have any sonic weapons unlocked, all your laser mods don't really do anything. So if you have these 2 mods here specifically, reverb, resonance, reverb on your defensive mods, and you reverb everything in this area, and every 2nd turn you can reverb everything in this area, all of a sudden you're going to proc reverb very, very, very quickly. Anyways, we're moving on. Your cast, I'm not going to pronounce that word, don't trust my English. Assault exoskeletons, 25% crit, 20% accuracy, 1 level attack resistance, plus 2 shield. Pretty awesome mod. It's good if you can afford it. Put this on whatever you want to do damage, but in terms of cost, you can also get a lot of benefit out of these cheaper mods down here. But it's definitely not bad. Your Hollow Reality. This is another amazing mod. One, the passive ability at the start is within 4 hex range, you get an 8 strength chance to apply Hallucinating. Hallucinating is reduces accuracy by 30%, and they're always flanked. So this is a passive ability. This bit up here is passive. You don't have to do anything, you just have to get hit within 4 hex range. So what units do you want to run up into their face and get hit within 4 hex range? You're looking at them. But say they don't want to hit your unit because they're smart, they have to ignore it anyway. What you can do, also this mod could be applied to any unit, so give it to anyone. Any people you want to be within a 4 hex range. What you can do is this ability here, which is actually just as powerful. So this leaves 1 action point, really important. So what this does, it creates cover at a target hex. Anything that's not adjacent has a 12 strength chance to become hallucinating. So 12 is pretty high, but it'd be awesome if you could increase that strength chance by, I don't know, applying Analyze to make it almost guaranteed to hit. But, maybe you don't want to do Analyze, that's fine. If you don't apply Hallucinate, which is, less accuracy and they're always flanked, you apply Broken Mind. Broken Mind is less accuracy anyway. So again, just for anyone, really quickly, flank damage is 25%. 25%? Yes, you do 25% more damage if they're flanked. So, awesome passive mod, plus 2 shield, and has a great active ability that leaves 1 action point. So, as an example, this ability leaves 1 action point. You can run up to them, teleport into their back line. You still have 1 action point after you teleport. Use this ability, make them less likely to hit anything, make them receive more damage if they're hallucinated. Still 1 action point left. You can use the last action point to go in defensive mode and move it again or whatever you want. This mod over here upgrades your infiltrators, plus 2 shield, plus 10% damage, even when hollow shifted. Pretty awesome. I don't really use infiltrators, but it's good. Perfected hollow tech. This one gives you happiness, I think. Yes, so all your colonies gain. Wait, excuse me. Okay, I have to turn off my mic for a second. Sorry. Plus 10 happiness, pretty awesome happiness events, and if you get hallucination again, if you're defensively, again, I use happiness events quite a lot, so this works for me. Might not work for everyone, but it's like a decent 4. It gives the same, all 9 enemy units have 4 strength chance of being hallucinated for 1 turn. I don't know if that's, oh no, at the start of each turn, okay. I've never used this, I've never had it used to me because I've never really been attacked. I'm always just winning. So again, it'd be cool to test that, but might be more beneficial multiplayer. Perfect Resonance. This is your big tier 3, I want to do lots of damage, and I'm kind of in the middle to late game. So it applies Impaired, which disables their mods for 1 turn, or if it doesn't apply Impaired, it applies Slows. So this is where I'll touch on Synergy last. I want to get into it, but not enough time. This is awesome. That's all I'm going to say. It's awesome. I'll get into it later. Field-wide Resonance. So this is a pretty awesome mod. It costs 8, but what it does is at the end of each enemy turn, for 5 turns, all enemies take 6 resonance and gain 6 kinetic damage and gain resonance, reducing their kinetic resistance by 2. This is weird because what this does is if they gain resonance, there's no strength chance. They have it. Like that's it. There's nothing they can do about it. This means if you have the operation and the energy, your resonance mod over here then becomes a little bit redundant because they already have resonance. Now it is still useful because maybe you don't have the energy every single time to use this mod, but it still does give 20% damage, but it's a little bit more redundant because they can't do anything. They can't dodge the resonance. But that said, if you do always have the money to do this, and say you can only do this once per turn because you only have 14, you can actually get rid of your resonance mod and change it for something else. But I'm not saying to get rid of it. I'm trying to point out that this mod is really powerful if you actually do get the chance to use it, because it cannot be dodged and there's nothing they can do about it. I think they can dispel or remove the status effect, but it's going to happen for 5 turns guaranteed. So good luck dealing with that. Laser, I'm going to skip through that. Didn't really use it. Not that it's weak. The tier 4 unit. Okay, so before I get to this, I didn't use this at all. I'll get to that last. So this mod over here gives Resurgence until the end of combat, enters defensive mode, and Sanity attacking enemy units for 3 turns. 30% damage plus 2 resistance to damage channels. I could put this on, I don't know, maybe the Firebrand, or maybe a unit like a Deadeye, or a unit that I don't really care. I don't generally like this unit because I want to control my units. So especially the tactician and the tank, I want to control them so I can fully utilize their abilities. Potentially units I don't really need to control is the Firebrand, but I don't like the fact that it causes insanity. It's an awesome ability. I just like controlling my units because I can do better. Even with the 30% damage, I don't really care. You could give this to tier 1 units maybe, and just make them harder to kill. But, you know, try that later. Holochromatic engines, I've never used this mod ever. I don't really know what it does, so I'll just be honest. So it gives 1 level of stagger resistance, which is okay. When this unit takes damage, it gains free action damaging ability of the same damage channel. Again, I probably should have used this before I even made this guide, but I have no idea, and I've got along just fine. And in terms of cost, because it can be only applied to heavy units, I would much rather my heavy units have mods that I know, like this mod over here, this mod over here, and maybe this mod over here, because I can know and use its abilities versus having this. Like it's like in terms of cost, like I'd prefer to have my units have these mods because it's a defensive mod, +2 shield. This is a defensive mode. I like it much better, and this, and this. So that's the reason I haven't used it. It could be good. I just don't know. And Omni Flare does a lot of damage. 8 strength chance to impair, 2x radius, decent. But I would rather use this because I hit every unit on the map. And when I get to this stage where I'm using these things, this is more beneficial because they're not really stacked up into a 2x radius. So again, in terms of cost, I prefer this. Now we can finally get into the units, which, apologies for taking this long. I went into a little bit more depth than I planned. Okay, Shakarn, let's get straight into it. These scouts. The scouts, just not the scout. They're okay. They have this Sonar Pulse, repeating attack, and they have Recon Boy, which is lets them increase 20% accuracy. I did end up giving scouts some mods just because I kind of had a couple lying around and I wanted them to be useful. Won't really touch on those mods. I more want to focus on the tier 1 Shakarn. Now, finally, so the Omni Carbine, the tier 1 Shakarn have this thing where they do more damage the closer that they are. So if you read Omni Carbine, close assault deals 1 less kinetic damage per hex away from target. Now remember, everything deals damage to the kinetic channel, and it'd be pretty awesome if there was a way to actually make you do more, like reduce their kinetic resistance. So again, Resonance reduces kinetic resistance by 2, and the tier 1 units over here, they have their kinetic resistance reduced by 1. So in theory, if they have Resonance, you can stand 2 hexes further away and you'd still do the same amount of damage. I don't know if that makes too much sense. I don't want to focus on it too much. Anyway, that's Omni Carbine, repeating attack. You have Omni Rush, which is a single action, which kind of does damage in a 3 hex line directly from where you're standing. In terms of mods, let's get straight into it. What I do is I only give them the tier 1 mods, these mods here. So this is your Deafening, Portable, and Grenade. So your tier 1 units, you want to give this Portable, Deafening, Grenade. The reason why you want to do this is that what will happen, so what's a faster way to get to this? It's easier just to put my mouse over this. Your Grenade is the most important ability because even though you can apply status effects to the Shakarn, if you hover your mouse over the Grenade, 12 strength chance to disorientate, 8 to impair, and 10 to analyze. And if you analyze, you reduce strength resistance by 2. So any target that's analyzed, if another target hits it, this should be disorientate would be 14 strength, impair would be 10, and analyze would be 12. Again, because analyze doesn't get stopped by blind or accuracy or morale, because grenades, sorry, don't get stopped by blind, accuracy, or morale. It's a guaranteed way to get into a 3 hex range and stagger them, disorientate, impair. Like maybe they have stagger resistance, that's fine, they're still going to get the status effects. And if you're in a 3 hex range, wouldn't it be awesome if you had an ability that had a range of 3 hexes? Wait a minute, the synergy. And both of these abilities, because you're using mods that have status effects, have a high chance. Now this is why I would prefer to have disorientate instead of laser. Why? Well, because first of all, if you're using the grenades, which is the most important upgrade personally, they don't do laser damage. So it's not going to do anything. I want to apply disorientate. Disorientate means they miss, they have a 30% chance to fumble. These units are kind of weak, and when you run them into close range, you can run them into melee units, you can run them into groups, they might die. If your opponents are missing, however, you live. So I don't care about doing, going back to the laser, I don't care about doing 10 damage per turn and 30% easier to hit, because if all my units live because they fumble every second attack or because they're disorientated, then I can just kill them the next turn. Like this, to me, is not useful. It doesn't scale into the late game, it doesn't scale into the early game, and it doesn't synergize with how you should be playing the Shakarn, which is running them into a 3-hex range, slapping them in the face with a grenade, slapping in the face with Omni Rush. If they've survived this and this, you can finish them off with repeating attacks, which if you have this on all of your tier 1 units, I mean, you generally want all of these, but if you would pick one, I'd just pick the grenade, ideally, and maybe grenade and this to grenade and disorientate to make them miss, and you're pretty much going to get, you're going to win. Personally, I think it's too strong. Oh, not too strong, but it's a really good combination in synergy. That's the early game Shakarn. You can upgrade them later on, just give them some tier 3 mods. Reverb, again, as you get later into the game, you might give everyone reverb shields because it means they're guaranteed to get reverb. This just gives them stagger resistance and more crit. What do they get at level 5? Oh, they get crit, which is 10% crit. What happens when they get this? 25% crit. There's 35% crit just from this mod and getting this unit to level 5. You can also have other buffs to give this unit 10% crit, which is 45%, and you can give them morale, which stacks on top of crit, which is like over 50% crit. Stupidly powerful, but just keep the grenade, because the grenade is a guaranteed attack. It's good. Or maybe you don't want to keep the grenade, maybe you get to the really late game and you want to give them offensive reverb, defensive reverb, and then this. This is a really expensive unit, but this is like really late game and you want these units still to be viable. But one other thing to point out, if you have all these mods on your unit, if you want to upgrade from this mod, as a tier 1 mod to a tier 2 mod, all you have to do is pay the cosmite difference. So you can leave these mods on your tier 1 units. As you get throughout the game, you can swap one mod to tier 3, maybe you have some spare cosmite, and as you go further, you can swap a second mod to tier 3, use your spare cosmite, and as you get even further, you can swap the final mod to tier 2 or tier 3. So again, you don't have to buy these units straight out, you can upgrade what you already have, but the Shakarn infiltrators, raiders, sorry, the tier 1 are really awesome. Please play them like this. Please don't use laser. Your infiltrators don't get any mods, so besides the mods that make them stronger, I don't really use them too much. They rely too much on the enemy having good units. They're not weak, but they're okay. But I can't really talk about anything because they're more about using the enemy's units against it. One other thing to note with the infiltrator, hollow shift lets you take your unit tier 1 or tier 2. Hollow shift repeat lets you use your last hollow shift. If you use auto combat, the AI will most likely take hollow shift repeat. If you're a dev, can you put on an ability to lock that hollow shift so the AI can't do that? That'd be awesome. Thank you. Deadeye. This is your tier 2 infantry, has crit at level 5. Sorry, I should have went to infiltrator. Level 5 is evasive, because of course you want to just dodge damage. Your level 5 is evasive, because you don't want to get hit. Cool. Deadeye, crit. You have the Omni Cannon, which is a 7-hex range, has stagger built into it. And it does kinetic and thermal. And you have Omni Perforator. So your infantry, tier 1 infantry, Omni Rush is a 3-hex range in front of you. Like you only hit it directly in front of you. What the Deadeye does is it does the same thing, but it has a range of 7. So if you're here, you can attack. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you use the attack here. The attack will hit here and will hit 3 hexes in front of it. So you can actually use this ability to kind of shoot over the back of enemies into the back line. So it has a range of 7. Because it hits 3 hexes, you can hit the 7th hex, the 8th hex, and the 9th hex. So you can have a range of 9, essentially. It has armor penetration, so you can ignore 2 armor. Again, with this unit, you want to give it your offensive mods. So the tier 2 mods, which is your reverb, your reverb and your resonance, and give it the tier 1 disorientation. What this does, single action, 12 strength chance. So you're going to give them resonance. You're going to get, where's reverb? Wait, reverb's not a strength chance? Wait, so reverb is guaranteed? What do you mean? I had no, okay, so it doesn't have reverb without mods, but if you give it a mod, it doesn't have reverb has a 12 strength chance, it just has a reverb is guaranteed. Is that a glitch? Okay, I'm a little bit confused, but apparently if you give your Deadeye's reverb, then there's nothing the enemy can do to stop it. They're just going to get reverb no matter what, so it sucks to be you. And that makes the Deadeye even more powerful than I already thought they were. Cool story. Another awesome thing, the Deadeye have, where is it? Overwatch. Oh, it's right there. So 15% chance to crit. Wouldn't it be kind of funny if you could give them more crit by having 10% at prime, and if you could give them a mod to give them 15% crit, 25% crit. I didn't end up doing that because I didn't need to give them crit, but I didn't end up upgrading them anymore. I just left them with these mods, purely because these are tier 2, and tier 1. But if you wanted to add in another mod, just say this stagger, immune to stagger, 25% crit, 10% crit, and deadly overwatch over here is 15% crit. You're pretty much guaranteed to crit, almost. So an amazing unit. Your propagator, didn't use them, skip. Sorry, this video is getting a bit too long, even though I tried to not make it too long. Your tactician, again, press the advantage, give your action points back, fall back, heal, and bring the unit back to you. And this, they don't need mods, honestly. They don't need anything. But that being said, if you have spare Cosmite and you want them to be somewhat useful, just give them reverb. They're only going to use one action point. You don't want to get them too close to use anything else. Don't give them a grenade, don't give them anything like that. Let them sit back, let them hit reverb every now and then if they have a spare action point, but you really want to be focusing on these two abilities right here. If you have even more spare, and if you have more spare Cosmite, maybe instead of giving them reverb as an offensive ability, you might want to give them reverb shields. That way they're guaranteed. Reverb when they hit, reverb when they get hit, because what happens is without reverb shields, the enemy will just dive into the backline and kill them, but this would at least punish them by taking reverb whenever they hit them. Or resonance, you know? But you know, all around, tactician, awesome mod, awesome unit, don't really need too many mods. The firebrand, so this is your melee unit, you want to run them in the face, you want to get into them, into their business. I only put defensive mods on this unit because I just don't want it to die. I don't care about it doing a lot of damage, I don't want it to die. That being said, in terms of cost, the cheapest mod you can get is this one over here. Xeno defense, plus 3 damage resistance, plus 1 shield. It's a tier 2 mod, so relatively cheap. If you're only going to put 2 mods on it, put reverb shield. Force them to take damage. So if you're fighting a melee unit, run in their face, hit them. You can have some abilities here to apply, you know, whatever it is. But if they hit you back, they're going to take a reverb. If you really want to be annoying, you can give this guy reverb. And so he has a 12 strength chance to apply reverb. And if he gets hit, guess what? He's going to apply reverb. It's a pretty good mod. Just to be a little bit more offensive, it kind of makes it, if it forces them to take them a bit more seriously. I might actually do that instead. What I did was I gave him this tier 3 defensive mod, which was hallucination, which makes him play a more support role. The problem with this is that he has so much defense that the unit, like the enemy, just ignores him straight out, which means he doesn't die. But it's okay. Like Hollow Reality is cool, but it might be better maybe to, you know, just get on the reverb train and just give him reverb, force him to just get reverb all day long. But you know, just make sure he lives. That's the main point. Live and distract. Your tank down here again. Everything is through ebb and flow. Try and auto attack, then get flow. Sorry, I should have gone back to the firebrand really quickly. His level 5 is critical, so I don't know. Funny story. Wouldn't it be a bit? Where is it? Be awesome if you could just do maybe this. Immune to stagger, 10% crit, 25% crit, 35% at level 5. Again, what does this do? 10% damage, 10% accuracy, reduced. Put them with the hero with the right upgrades, give them another 10% crit, which is like, it's a lot of crit. So you stagger immunity, or you can give them more damage, apply reverb, you know, play around with it. But yeah, level 5 is crit. Reason why I'm pointing that out is that the refractor at level 5 gets Overwatch. Why is this important? What you can do is with the refractor, instead of the first turn, you can run it into 7 range and attack something, but then it's in a position to get attacked. You can keep it relatively safe and Overwatch on the first turn, which means your aim of the game is to get Ebb as quickly as you can. If you can get an Ebb stack off being Overwatch at turn 1, then that means you're 1 stack ahead of using your Sonic Flow. You won't need to use another Press the Advantage. With the tank, relatively simple. Get 2 stacks of Ebb, use Flow. Flow knocks back enemies by 1 hex, so use the Flow at the end of your turn. Because if you use the Flow at the start of your offensive turn, you'll knock everyone back and everyone will be further away in terms of range for the rest of your units. But if you knock everyone back at the end of your turn, they have to use 1 hex. They have to move forward 1 hex just to hit you. So it's a good synergy, just keep in mind. Use Flow at the end. Pair it with your Tactician. Pair it with your Press the Advantage. And your heroes who have the Tactician abilities, and your tank will do amazing things. I also realized I didn't get to the elite unit, but I'll get to that very, very soon. In terms of mods for your tanks, give them the same mods as your Deadeye, pretty much, which is your tier 2 mod for resonance, tier 2 mod for reverb, and your discerning. So it should be this mod. So this is what you want to build them. Say it's early out, you don't have that much cosmite. Maybe you want to get rid of deafening. You're disorientating. I don't know what I call it disorientating for. But it's pretty much it's your offensive ability. You can, once you unlock the tier 4 mod, put sono interference on it, because then it applies impaired and slowed. And guess what? If this knocks you back for one turn, and this slows you, what slow does, it means you can't move as much. It means they have to waste one or two action points just to move back to their original position, which is just amazingly powerful. And 30% damage. One thing I would do is, because you can apply resonance so easily through operations, if you are going to change this, or if you do want to change something, and you do want to give a defensive mod, give it reverb shields. Again, everything having reverb just means everything else stacks. You could give it a different reverb, different defensive mod. You could let it teleport if you want, but yeah, I'd kind of just stick with the same mods as the Deadeye as a general rule of thumb. But if you can afford it, give it this mod and give it some more offensive. Because you want to stack the damage, hit flow, yeah, just make their day hell. Finally, we go down to your tier 4 unit. I see a lot of people don't really like tier 4 units. I couldn't disagree less. Sorry. The tier 4 unit, so you have your repeating attack, which is 7 hex range, 6 and 6. It's not that great, it's okay. Omni charge, this is amazing. Empower the next Omni beam to do a 6 hex range long and 3 hex wide line. And it enters defensive mode. So first we'll just go to the Omni beam. So the Omni beam is pretty much the exact same ability that the Deadeye has, which fires a sonic laser in a 3 hex line, does 13 and 13 damage. But when you use the Omni charge, instead of doing a 3 hex line, so a 3 hex line is like 1, so here 1, 2, 3, what it does is it does a 6 hex line, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's 3 hexes wide. So you pretty much hit everything in this area here in a straight line. I don't know if you can tell what I'm doing, but apologies for that. Why this is so powerful is that what you want to do, or why I think it's so powerful, sorry, that's what it does, and it puts you in defensive mode. Before I talk into the power, defensive mode increases shields by 3 and 15% evasion, and it cannot be flanked. This unit is also 25% harder to hit, so it's a good defensive buff. But back to why I think Omni Beam is so powerful is that the aim of the Omni Beam is not to kill them or not to do damage. How you want to build them, this is really expensive. Reverb, what a surprise. Impair and slow to disable their mods. This is just for damage, but this is a void text. I'm going to remove this. If I did have something else, you could pretty much build this unit the same as you build the where is it? Your Deadeyes, which is make them miss, slow them and impair them, and apply reverb. I'd probably say reverb is probably the most important one, because again, you want to apply reverb to everything. The 19 and 19 damage, 40 damage, that's okay, but the fact that you can apply this to 6 by 3, like 18 hexes in a straight line, is that you're trying to disable their army so that your other units can kill them. So whereas other tier 4 units, they'll support your army by giving them buffs to everyone on the map, what this unit does is it supports your army by giving an ability that hits 16 hexes straight in a straight line and lets you debuff the army. Now again, if you're versing the Shakarn, right? You don't want to get hit by, say you have this unit, you're versing this unit. If you don't want to get hit by this unit, what you can do is you can split your units in a wide, right? Because this does 6 hex in a straight line and 3 hexes wide. So you want to spread your units across horizontally. If you spread your units across horizontally, wouldn't it be kind of funny if there was a unit that done AoE damage in a horizontal or circular fashion? But say you're versing this unit, and because it does damage in a circle, you put your units in a straight line. Theoretically, you're versing Shakarn, you both have access to all of your units. Wouldn't it be funny if you could do damage in a straight line, in an AoE damage? And again, you're not aiming to kill them, you're aiming to do abilities that have, you're aiming to put status effects on them. So again, like this is just for pure damage, 8 strength chance, give it this, because now you have 12 to disorientate, so 12 strength chance, and for some reason again, this impairs and reverbs. Oh no, this reverbs. So if hold on, let me just test this. If I do this, unequipped, so say I have this, right? I have no mods. It just staggers, okay? If I just put the reverb mod on it, reverb is not a strength chance. I don't know if that's meant to be like that. I don't know if that's a bug, but that's broken. because that means you're guaranteed to hit reverb. And again, if you reverb this ability and you reverb with your AoE tanks, you reverb with every other ranged ability, you can reverb with any other melee ability, because this mod can go on anything that has sonic. And every single Shakarn unit can use sonic. You can reverb their entire army, and you can kill them if they stand next to each other. And if they don't stand next to each other, well, then you're going to kill them anyway, because they're going to die. They have to run away from each other and use action points. So that's, this video's got, I wanted to ask, maybe I can make it less than 30 minutes. Didn't really work. I apologize for kind of tripping over my words and but I was trying to race through this and not go into too much detail. That is the final Shakarn melee unit. The C units I didn't really use, but because they're sonic, you can just apply the same sonic mods as the Deadeye. And oh look, yeah, you can apply Analyzed at a 9 hex range. Of course you can. Yeah, and then these are non-melee units. This is Wojtek. So yeah, that's I hope that makes sense. I spent a bit too long explaining the general Shakarn units and not enough about the synergy. If there are any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Yeah, I might end up having to make a new Shakarn video, I don't know, a couple months after this if I learn something more. But that is how I see the Shakarn right now and how I think you should play them. Foxxeel out, and I'll catch you on the next video. So actually, before I forget, I was in that much of a kind of rush to not make this video go too long that I forgot to talk about the heroes. So where are my heroes? Heroes. Where's my main hero? This one. So with your heroes, what I do is when I play Shakarn, pick the weapons mode that is the sniper mod. The Shakarn don't actually have snipers; they have the Omni Cannon. Now the Omni Cannon, which is this weapon over here, is the same weapon that your Deadeyes use. So Deadeye, Omni Cannon. And so how I build my heroes is I pretty much build them like a Deadeye and a Tactician combined, because this mod gives them the same abilities as a Tactician, and this mod gives them the same abilities as the Deadeye, which is a single action attack at 7 range, does a lot of damage. The reason I do this is that because it's sonic, it synergizes with everything else that I've been using the Shakarn for. I get to have my my reverb. Is this interesting? So the Omni Cannon with reverb, it's not a strength chance, it's guaranteed, which is more awesome. So what that means is you can focus all your attacks on one unit, and you can get it to 3. You can make it proc reverb really quickly because it has no chance of dodging it. It doesn't matter what tier it is. Okay. And so pretty much you build them the same way you'll build the Deadeyes. But what I did was, with my heroes, I put the defensive mod. The reason I do this is that if you don't have a defensive mod, enemies can focus them really easily. 7 range is not that far, and so if they're going to get hit, I'd like to at least force them to take reverb, and it just helps keep them alive. So you can give some more like supporting mods, but these are relatively cheap. 30% damage, 20% damage, 20% damage. It does about 40 damage. You can say maybe swap one of these out, swap the resonance out, make them even tankier, and get crit. So it gives you a little bit of stagger resistance. You have this ability which gives you 10% crit chance, and you have 25% crit chance, 35% crit, and don't get staggered, bit more armor, bit more shield. You still get the reverb, which is guaranteed, and you have a 12 strength chance to slow, or to impair if not slow. So which is really awesome. So pretty much, yeah, that's the end of this guide. Apologies for getting that, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, this is the last thing I promise. The other thing I forgot is that your Omni Cannon that I was talking about, you get it on your main hero, but you don't actually get it on any other hero. So on every other hero, if you go to weapons, you don't get access to the Omni Cannon, which I have way too many weapons unlocked. What you do get access to, however, is the Sono Shotgun. Now the word Sono means that it only takes sonic mods. So again, because your other heroes, excuse my voice, because they can't have Omni Cannons, and they only have Sono Shotguns, which has the 7 range, a single attack, and if you have reverb on a Sono Shotgun, guess what? It's guaranteed. That's even more argument for not going into laser, because you can't put any other laser mods on a Sono Shotgun, because it only does kinetic damage. So again, your main hero is the one that will have Omni Cannon. If you really want to, you can swap the Omni Cannon to a Sono Shotgun. Definitely need to, it's a waste, because it pretty much serves the same function, but just keep in mind the Sono Shotgun doesn't use the laser mods, it only uses the sonic weaponry or the sound mods, which is the one that hopefully I have convinced you that you should be focusing on this one over here. That's officially it. I'm sorry, don't be rude. Latest.